So today, guys, it's Testimony Tuesday. I'm excited. Apparently, this testimony is quite a powerful one. And she wouldn't let me hear any of it prior because she was like, no, you need to hear like straight away, like from when I say it verbally out of my mouth. So I have no idea what is going to happen. I have no idea what she's going to say. I know roughly the basis of her testimony, but I have no idea really the depth of it. So it is with pleasure that I introduce to you someone who started as a follower of this community and has now become a friend. Emmie is not only an avid Minecrafter or Valoranteur, but also a follower of Jesus. She is almost 30 years old and has lived all over the United States. She grew up in a Christian faith, but it didn't resonate with her until 2016. She was majorly backslidden within her walk with Jesus until August 2024, when something near fatal happened that changed her entire life. So, now with the warmest welcome, let's embrace the wonderful Emmie.
Hello.
Hello. She's like, oh, hi. Oh, that's my cue.
Yeah. I was like, what do I say? Do I say something funny? Do I just say something not funny? And then all that came out was hi.
No, you were like, hello. We're going to host a new farm. We're going to Stardew together. I'm going to make my character. And Emmie's going to join my game.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to call me Amazi. Actually, no, it has to be Em and Emmie. Farm name. Eminem.
My sister's in chat.
Oh. Eminem Farm. Let's go. Favorite thing. Jesus. Okay. Do we want a cat or a dog? Please say dog.
Yeah, I usually
Okay,
have a cat, but yeah.
Oh. I'm like, oh, we've got a difference here, chat. Okay, well, since I get to choose the animal, you can choose the dog. Do you want the dog with the cute ears, the dog with the pointy ears, the dog with the cute face, the dog that's wearing a bandana, or the dog that just looks happy?
The happy one.
Okay. Dog is God backwards, so dog.
That's true.
So true. What farm would you like? If we do 4 corners, we could get a side each.
Yeah, but the problem with the 4 corners one is it take like the person who's hosting gets like the main cabin, but then the other people are like very far away, so you gotta book it.
This is true. Well,
So,
it's entirely up to you.
I'm okay with 4 corners, but I might have to bunk with you sometimes if I'm really late.
Or we could go like, say we did 4 corners. You could go, I could have the right side, you can have the left side, and then put your house right near the top.
Do we get to decide where the houses go?
Yeah.
We do?
Yeah, I can move them around.
Oh.
And then you're actually closer if you come from the left side. You're closer to say the mine entrance, like from the top.
Oh, okay.
So did you want to do that or not? Well, I don't mind. I just thought if we're not sharing money, we probably should have each side, we can like decorate our own however we want then that way.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Am I like pressuring you into this? Is this like, are you agreeing to this? I want to make sure you're agreeing to this before.
No, I am. So whenever I've played this game in the past with other people, I'm always the one hosting. So this is stuff that I've never had to think about before.
Okay. So, we're good?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Promise.
Oof.
Okay, I've just pressed... No, we're going to overthink this forever. I've just pressed okay.
It's fine.
Why are we like this? Okay.
I don't know.
Let me see.
This is why God made us friends.
Let me see. Why can't I open... Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, by the way, I need to give you this friend code. Wait, where's my... How do I... Oh, I'm taking screenshots all over the place. Wait. We need to change... I've just lost the game.
Good job.
Mo, thank you so much. Wait, you guys can't even see my game.
I see, like, hacker stuff.
No, you don't want to... No, we're not talking about that. That's all my mod stuff. The mods that the 170 mods chat that I had to remove to play today.
Because I don't play mods. I don't know how to play mods.
We have to get her into it, chat. Hello, Griffin. Welcome in. I see hacker stuff. Welcome in, Fade. Thank you so much for the follow. Alright, I'm just checking.
Oh no, Fade's here too. Uh-oh.
Fade's here. Wait, I'm really struggling to find your cabin right now.
Oh no, did we goof?
I think we've goofed. Wait.
Oh,
but it's okay,
brother.
because if there's no cabin, I can make you one really quickly. But you just have to bear with me. I can't remember how much I need. I think it's like... Okay, so your cabin is definitely not down there. We'll go and check the other sides.
You lost my cabin.
There's your cabin. You can join. So if you put that code in, so if you go to co-op, well, you know how to do it, right?
I think so. Am I in? I don't know if I'm in. I'm somewhere.
You should be... Hang on. I'll go and... Wait, have you already made your character?
Yeah. Hi.
Oh, hi! Hello! You look so cute! Have we got matching hair?
Wait, do we?
Oh, no. It's
no,
similar.
We don't.
Oh, look at us! Oh, hi! My hair looks like it's moldy.
Wait, here. Come over here. Yeah.
Let's go.
Aww.
So how would you like to share? How would you like to start off? Like, right from the start of how you became Christian?
I could start there, yeah. If that's where you want me to start. It's a little more complicated if I go that far back, though, because I've been a part of the faith for quite a while.
You could probably touch on it.
Yeah. So, I... Obviously, not everybody, gets to, but I grew up in a semi-Christian home. My dad, like, took us to church all the time. My mom is a little more complicated than that. But I didn't completely understand what it was until, like, I was a teenager. And then, when I was a teenager, I dipped into a lot of, like, I'm gonna just say that it's pagan type stuff. I don't know if it necessarily is, but it was stuff like out-of-body experiences and, you know, communicating with demons and stuff like that. And then in 2016, that was more when, like, I started getting into this one community. It was actually on Instagram back when Instagram was super popular. And there was a girl there who told me a little bit more about Christianity that I didn't really hear growing up. So at that point, my life started to change, but I still wasn't completely committed to it, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And I ended up, so 2016, it was the same year that I graduated from high school. And then...
So, in America, how old would you have been?
18?
Yep. Okay. Just for context, because when we finish high school over here in Australia, we are 16.
I thought so.
Yep. So I just wanted to make sure everyone's on the same sort of page.
Here, it depends on the person. Some people graduate at 16, some people graduate at even 19. It just depends on... generally, 18 is where you're at when you graduate here.
Yeah, okay.
I was 17 when I graduated.
Yeah, okay.
Because I have a very late birthday.
Yeah.
I was 17? I was 17 or 18. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so then I took a year off after high school. But then after that, I went to Bible college.
Okay.
I was a first grade teacher for 2 years I was a full-time teacher while I was a full-time student. Do not recommend. Bad idea. But then kind of a little bit after that, I had an injury beforehand, that happened while I was working there. And because of that, I actually had to quit school. I had to quit my job, and I moved back in with my dad. And it was a lot of, like, it's the idea of, like, everything's going really well, and then it doesn't. And it was just kind of, like, everything was going really well, and then I felt like all in one fell swoop, I lost everything that meant anything to me all at once. So I moved back in, I went back home, moved back in with my dad. And then I started dating a guy. And I'm not gonna go into too much detail about what happened there, because it's kind of some graphic stuff, but he was not a great person. He claimed to be a person of faith and was not. And so because of that, I stepped away from the faith for a while. I was still kind of going to church, but I was just kind of going because it was one of those things where, like, I felt guilty if I didn't.
Yeah.
But again, it still didn't really mean very much to me. And then, you know, fast forward to, like, 2022 to 2023, I struggled a lot with basically just not wanting to be alive. And from 2022 to 2023, I had multiple different suicide attempts. I was hospitalized multiple times because of it, for basically being a danger to myself. And a lot of things happen in those hospitals that are horrible. Like, you do not, when you're in that hospital, you are not treated like a human being. You are not treated like, you're treated, it kind of feels like you're an animal in, like, a petting zoo or something. Like, you're not a human. You're not treated like a human. So, during that time, around that same period of time, I got involved in some communities on Twitch. And I made some really awesome friends. and I joined a Minecraft SMP. It's called Dragonfell. A couple of them are probably even live right now. And got really close with a lot of them. And so we decided that March of 2024, so about a year ago, we were gonna meet up at a Comic-Con in Kansas City, I think Missouri. So I drove there, and for context, it's about a 10 to 11 hour drive to get from where I live to that convention. And when I was on my way home from that trip, and this is, Marzi, this is the part that you don't know about or didn't know anything about, I think. So when I was on my way home from that trip, I left on a Friday, spent the weekend there, and then came back on a Monday. So on Monday, I was driving home. I was on the interstate, and I actually fell asleep at the wheel. I was the only one in the car, so it was just me driving. There was no other passengers or anything like that. And as far as the police report goes, because obviously I was asleep, so I don't know what exactly happened in that time. But the police report said that I hit, like, I don't know if it's gonna make any sense with like America, Australia. I'll try to explain it though, but
Yeah.
I hit what's called like an oncoming ramp, if you know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's like a metal border. I hit that. While I was driving, I fell asleep. I drifted off the road. I hit that, and that actually sent my car into a flip. So my car was flipping, and while the car was flipping, there was a portion of time where the like driver's side door latch and the like the driver's seatbelt was actually broken in the accident, like while the car was flipping. So the driver's side door flew open, my seatbelt broke off, and I flew out. And it wasn't like I just like went out of the car. I was like thrown up into the air and out of the car, so it was kind of like a rainbow shape. So I remember landing on the ground, and I don't remember any of the things that I said. But what I do remember is that in the police report, the person that had like came to help me when everything happened, like when he saw me on the ground and everything, when he came over to like help me and stuff, he said that I made a comment about not being able to feel my legs, which I don't really remember saying that, but shock, you know, a lot of things I'm probably forgetting.
Yeah, of course.
So this man who came to help me, I don't remember his name. I keep forgetting to ask my dad if my dad might know his name. But he... And here's kind of the first part, at least for me in my head, that kind of told me that it was a little bit of like a God moment. So this guy who came to help me, he was an off-duty paramedic.
Wow.
And he was like literally driving right behind me. He saw me drift off the road and followed me off. And he like immediately rushed to help me. And so it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, of all the places he could have been, like he could have been on shift, you know?
Yeah. It could have been anyone behind you as well, like.
Exactly. And so that was like kind of the first part of it where I was like wow, like there's something out there that's, you know, looking out for me. And so yeah, so I'm like laying on the ground, this guy comes over to help me, and it takes a while for the ambulance to get there. But at that time I had at some point fallen asleep. I don't remember from the guy talking to me to seeing my dad visiting me in the hospital the next day, because I was like 5-6 hours away from home, so my dad had to drive to come and see me.
Yeah.
So the ambulance comes, they pick me up, and the condition that I was in was so severe that the closest hospital to where the accident had happened, they just did not have the resources to take care of me. So they took me from that hospital and rushed me to the nearest airport. And they used a medical plane to life flight me to one of the more major hospitals. I went into, emergency tests and surgeries and CT scans and all the things to figure out all the things that were broken. So that accident happened on a Monday. I had 2 surgeries on Tuesday. I had 2 more surgeries on Thursday of that same week.
And were you fully conscious, like, by then? Like, you knew the surgeries and... Yeah.
So my dad came on Tuesday. And I believe it was after my back surgery on Tuesday. And he said that I was, like, conscious enough to, like... Because my dad was there with, like, a friend. A friend drove my dad there. And I guess this friend was, like... The doctor was showing my dad and this friend, like, all these x-rays and stuff of what was going on inside of my body. And he, like, had it on, like, a rolling type of thing. And so I, like, said something to him about, like, hey, can I see it? Like, I wanted him to turn it over to me, basically. And my dad said that I was, like, conscious enough to even ask questions, but I don't remember any of that at all.
Yeah.
So, in the accident, after they had done, like, all the x-rays and stuff like that, come to find out, I broke my right ankle. I broke, like, the 2 bones that connect your, like, the main part of your arm to your hand. Those 2 bones broke, so my right hand was completely on the inside disconnected.
Oh my gosh.
My pelvis broke in half. So that's why I like, couldn't feel my legs. And I shattered multiple bones in my spine. And when one of those bones in my spine broke, it actually pushed in towards my spinal cord. And if there's ever anything that's, like, misunderstood, please ask questions, because I know, like, a lot of the medical terminology, but I sometimes forget that not everybody's gonna know the medical terminology. But when one of them broke, it put a lot of pressure on my spinal cord. And I ended up with what's called an L3 incomplete spinal cord injury. And basically what that is everything from hips and below is very strongly affected. So for example, since the injury, I have not been able to go to the bathroom like a normal person would. I have to use a lot of different instruments and stuff like that to get my body to do the things that it needs to do for that to happen. And so, that's affected. My hips don't work the way that they're supposed to, so that greatly affects the ability to walk. So I am in a wheelchair a lot of the time. I've been in therapy a lot since then, but there's still a lot that my body is trying to heal and recover from. But being that it's a incomplete injury, so there's 2 different types of injuries when it comes to spinal cord injuries. There's complete and then there's incomplete. So a complete injury is when those nerves are not, so like for me, my nerves are pinched. But a complete injury is when there's, like, cut off, like there's no connection at all whatsoever. It's never coming back. With an incomplete injury, there's either where your nerves are pinched, which was my case, or there's a possibility that your nerves, with all tests and technicalities and everything, your nerves are perfectly fine, but they basically say that your nerves are in shock. And so for both of those things, it just takes therapy and it takes time. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that do give up. And when that happens, they're bound to a wheelchair. Like, there's no change. The last time I spoke with a neurologist, he told me that the initial space of impact on my spinal cord, it looks a lot better. And he told me that the spinal fluid is moving exactly the way it's supposed to. And when I asked him what that meant, he told me that basically means there is a huge indefinite possibility that I can gain absolutely everything back.
That is incredible. Like, for all accounts, I really hate to say this, and I'm not a very politically correct person. But you should have been dead. You've just sat here and said how horrific yours was, to the point of actually being thrown completely out of the vehicle, the seatbelt snapping in half and you being completely thrown out of the vehicle. You're currently in a wheelchair, and there is a high possibility that you could be walking again. Like, God's all over it.
It's crazier. It gets crazier. Because I have been walking. So I don't know. So you might know a little bit about this, because most people that I talk to don't know much about it. Do you know what well, maybe you won't, because Australian as well. But do you know what Lofster crutches are?
No.
Okay. So, would it make sense if I were to call them arm crutches?
Yes. Yep.
So, I am able to walk with those. I do have to wear, like, very special braces on my legs because with the spinal cord injury, unfortunately, one of the things that happened is my feet. Initially, I wasn't able to feel them at all. Now I can feel bits and pieces of them. But my feet, as far as, like moving my toes or like pumping my ankles or whatever, any of those things, I'm not capable of doing. My feet just don't move.
Yep.
So I do have to wear special braces to kind of aid in making sure that my feet are in the right position to be able to walk. But then I use the crutches to kind of hold me upright because my body, because I can't feel the bottom half of my body for the most part. A lot of those things I'm just not capable of really doing without, the assistance of the crutches and braces and things like that.
Sometimes I really wish I had a camera, because when I don't speak, when I'm not speaking, I am genuinely like very in-depth focused on the conversation. My jaw has just dropped. Like, it's just insane. It's incredible, actually. And like, man, I think even just the fact that, I mean, obviously God's all over it, but having faith too, I think has definitely helped.
Amen.
Has helped, like, your spirits being high, and there's all, there's the hope, and like you said, there are people that have they have the ability to progress and get better, but they give up and end up staying in the wheelchair despite the fact that they could definitely get better. So yeah, I think, like, the fact that you have that faith as well, and God, through his word is inspiring you every day to get up and keep positive as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's just incredible.
I mean, it's it's crazy to think about the fact that even just a year before that, I was trying to end my life myself. To go from that to, you know, I could have been just like a lot of those people and just stayed in the wheelchair and just let the depression take over. But
Yeah.
I saw so much of
Amen.
God in what happened because of how he brought me through, and the amount of progress that I made is you know, it's insane, and that's not something I could have done without him. And so it was one of those things where I literally went from trying to end my life to I need to do something to save myself and save my life.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I now have, you know, a story to share. I now have somebody to talk about.
And like you wouldn't have see, and this is the thing too, chat. There's a lot of people that when something bad happens to them, they go straight to blame God. And they will say like, why did this happen to me? And why did God do this to me? But ultimately, like, he has a plan. It's not always how we would like it to be. It's not always what we would choose for ourselves either. But he knows, like, he knows exactly what's right for us. And like a lot of people will say, well, why would a car accident that nearly killed me be right for me? Well, Emmie was suicidal, like, literally the year prior, and now she has something that she's got to literally fight for her life. And not only that, she's realised too that she doesn't want to die. And there's something to live for. It's just insane. Like, I'm just blown away. Like, when you're in the midst of things, you don't always see God because you don't, I guess, your mind is just so clouded with everything that's happening. But when you take a step back and you actually look at the bigger picture, you can see how God's just orchestrated the entire thing. Thank you so much for the lurk. Yeah, you can literally see how he's orchestrated the entire thing, from the suicide to the car accident to how the car accident happened to how to who was behind you when the car accident happened, to then the recovery as well. Like, it's insane. And he's so good, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And this is also why we need to trust him more too, because when we start to take things into our own hands, we ultimately don't know what's best for us, let's be honest. And we think we're in control and we think we've got it, and then he just comes along and goes, nope. You're doing a terrible job. Let me at it. He's just so good. So what do you think has been one of the major things that have kept you from falling into like a depressive state and not being able to cope with what's happened to you?
Not to say that I haven't been. I have had at least one that I can remember suicide attempt since the accident happened.
Yeah.
Because obviously when I came home, you know, I don't know if I mentioned this first. So I was in 4 different hospitals within the span of 3 months. And so I had like literally 24/7 care, and to go from that to coming home and having to completely take care of myself was quite a bit of a shock. And so I think a lot of that side of it definitely caused a lot of kind of my mind to go back to that place of, well, I just shouldn't be here. Like, this is too much for me to handle. But there is always this thing where I know that a lot of the times when I'm like especially struggling, if there's ever a time that I'm like having a really, really hard time like knowing where God is and feeling that he's really with me, because of everything that happened, there's always he always brings somebody there. So like I went from, you know, the accident to, honestly, a lot of my friends that I had before the accident really didn't want to make time for me in their lives anymore. While I was gone those 3 months, they had just kind of moved on. And they just didn't have the time and the space for me anymore. And I mean, that's a lot to go from, you know, being fully independent and able to drive and having a job and all of these things to, okay, now basically, not all of them, but basically all of my friends are gone. Because I was, you know, 24/7 bound to a wheelchair, not like I am now, but at first, because I was 24/7 bound to a wheelchair, I couldn't even be in my own bedroom. My bedroom is upstairs, and I'm in my dad's room. I'm still in my dad's room. And so, like, literally my entire life changed from the people I hung out with to the servers that I played on or the games that I played to, just, you know, I couldn't even sleep in my own bed.
Yeah.
And so, like, literally, like, I went from, you know, feeling like I had everything to having nothing. And it was in that moment of having nothing that God brought some of the best people into my life. And if it weren't for that, I mean, now I'm serving in 2 different ministries. And I had a meeting just before this. And in that meeting, I've been invited to help in a third ministry.
Yeah.
And the amount of friendships that I've built, I mean, a lot of people that have come in here that are from my community are through that process. Like Hannah, I know Hannah through my friend Mother Goose. I call Mother Goose my big sister, and if it weren't for the accident, Mother Goose and I would not be the friends that we are now, and I would not know Hannah, and I would not know, you know, Mariah that was in here earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, even working with Fade and Romans, I call them my bosses, that were in here earlier, I would not be working with them. I would not be doing any of the things that I'm doing with them at all. Like, that accident happened and I lost everything, but in losing everything, I gained everything, because losing everything showed me that really God is the everything. And, you know, once I found him again and invited him back into my life and literally gave him everything, it was just one of those moments of like there's this video of me walking that's been circling around, and there's this song that plays in the background, and I think it's really fitting and really cool. But it's called Surrender, and the lyric that you hear in the background is literally just her singing, "This is my surrender." And I really felt like at that point, because of, you know, losing everything and everyone in my life for the most part, I literally had nothing. And having nothing yet, falling to your knees, or, you know, in my case, because I can't really get on my knees, just, you know,
Amen.
kind of throwing your hands up and being like, well, I have nothing to give you, God, but I need you. And he's perfectly okay with that. You don't have to give him anything. I mean, even if you could give him anything, he doesn't need anything from you. And just, it's just one of those things where I had to lose everything to gain everything.
So I want to read out a comment from Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah says, none of it makes sense now. Obviously, God could have let her die from the accident or let her walk away completely unscratched, but he worked through her to make the impossible possible. And that, like I had some thoughts when I read that.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like he could have let her die, because as Christians we know that what he has in store for us after our time on earth is so much better than what we're experiencing now. So a lot of people always look at death as something that's terrible, but obviously for Christians we're being reconnected with Christ. However, he didn't let you die. And I feel like it's for so many, I think personally, like you're going to reach the people that are in wheelchairs. Maybe those ones who could get better but have chosen to give up, you could reach those people. And those people are going to look at you for inspiration and then possibly come to Christ themselves if they're not already there. But also I think mainly, and this is just my opinion, I think it's the mental health, because there's people who, and this is just from my personal experience too, and again, this is not my testimony, but I have been there as well, and I have been suicidal in the past, and obviously struggled with self-harm and things like that, and this is why testimonies I think are so important. But then I became sick as well. Nothing even remotely the same as you, Emmie, but it was a near-death experience as well, and it was at that point that I thought, I don't want to die. And I think when you've been in the position of suicidal ideation, thank you. When you've been in, I'm losing my mind. I've got so much going through my head at the moment. Chat's going off. But when you are in that position, you don't think that you don't want to die. You think that you do. There's voices in your head, and we know what they are, telling you that you do. And you think that you would be better off dead, and you think that everybody else around you would be better off if you were dead. And obviously you spiral, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you need something just to go, hang on a second, to sort of make you like come back to reality and go, I actually don't want to die. And there's so many testimonies like yours that they have tried to successfully suicide, but they haven't, and then they go, I actually didn't want to die. And so many people have come out of that going, I didn't actually want to die. And then obviously you think about those who did successfully take their own life, and you think, man, like they didn't really want that. They thought so, but they didn't really. And I think by speaking to people about that from your point of view, I think you could touch so many people from the mental health side of things, because it's that reality of you think you do, but you actually don't. And when you're confronted with the possibility of passing away, you then realize, actually, I don't want this at all. And it's a good reminder. And to hear someone that has been one way and then completely changed and gone the other way, it does, I would think it would help so many people from just the mental health side of things.
I hope so.
Because, and this is the thing, like what Hannah said, he could have let you pass away. He could have, but he didn't, because there's so many people that need to hear how his hand has helped you. Because ultimately it helps other people go, well, hang on a second, I want that for my life. I don't want what I'm in at the moment. You give inspiration to people, through the blood of their testimony. So it's just insane. Like, everything about it is just incredible. Exactly, Skiz. Even if it's just one person's sake, your testimony is worth it. Yeah, I've always said that.
I think that's kind of part of it too. Like, there's a lot of like, every time, because this is not the only place that I've shared my testimony before, but every time I've been given the opportunity to do that, I'm absolutely terrified to. But I've come to the conclusion that it's not. I mean, it is my story to tell, but it's not my story to tell.
Yep. Yep.
Or I should say, it's my story to tell, but it's not my story to.
Yep.
There, like you said, there are people out there that need to hear it. There are people out there that are going through that struggle that you and I have both witnessed and been through, and they just need to know that there is. And it's hard to say, because at the time I would hear people saying these things and it was hard to accept, but people sometimes just need to hear that there is, you know, a light at the end of the tunnel. There is still a life for you.
Yeah.
I think something that I talk about a lot is the fact that, you know, when it comes to having had a suicide attempt, regardless of how many you've had in your life, I'm so sorry that you've been there. I'm so sorry that you thought that that was the only option. But something that I talk about a lot is the fact that there's this idea of, at least in my head from what I understand, there's this idea of survivor's guilt.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you come to the point of realizing, you know, you're glad that it failed, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're not in that space of being accepting of the fact that, you know, that you survived, but you did. If you've ever been in that space before and you're listening to my voice, you're a survivor. And sometimes there's just that little bit of survivor's guilt where you're either hearing it from people or you're hearing it from your own mind that will tell you, like, okay, but you could have hurt the people that you love the most by doing what you tried to do if it had been successful. And so I think there are a lot of people that don't want to talk about it. There are a lot of people that don't know how to talk about it. It's just, mental health is such a, especially in Christianity, like not just in Christianity, but especially in Christianity, there's just this idea of, oh no, you're struggling, don't talk about it. Don't tell anybody about it. Because if you do, they're going to judge you for it. You know, God is going to be so mad at you because how dare you try to take into your hands what belongs to him. And that's just not it. That's absolutely not it.
And there is this, like, I guess, stigma around mental health and Christianity that a lot of people will just, I mean, look, I'm the first one to say demons, 100%. Satan will kick you while you're down. He'll go, oh, you're struggling? Well, let me just make that a little harder for you, like 100%.
I mean, you're struggling and he's going to tell you, well, God doesn't care.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, those thoughts that you hear in your head, 100% they're trying to just tip you over the edge. But I feel like when it comes to Christianity and mental health, people are so quick to just blame demons, like straight away. It's demons, just ignore them, rebuke them and let them go. And it's like, if you're struggling with that, people that have never experienced mental health in the Christian faith, they just have there's a little bit of ignorance around it. And a lot of the time, demons haven't actually gone and in an indirect way, they have influenced other people to hurt you or situations to happen. But sometimes life just happens and then there's trauma that comes from that. And then obviously Satan then kicks you while you're down and then you just spiral. But I think the stigma is that, you know, it's all airy-fairy when it comes to Jesus. Like, you know, as a Christian, you should be hopeful and you should be full of joy and you should be, you know what I mean? Do you know where
Not. It's
Do you know
not
where
a
I'm
sin.
coming
It is
from?
not a sin not to be. It is not a sin not to be. It is
Right.
absolutely not a sin not to
And
be.
there's people in the Bible, throughout the whole Bible, who struggled. And yeah, it's just like no one, like it openly talks about the struggles in the Bible, because that's we're human and we're going to struggle like constantly. And yes, Satan does kick you while you're down 100%. But I think, yeah, the lack of empathy and the lack of, or just the ignorance really around mental health in Christianity is just insane. Like, there's so many people that just don't understand. And in a way, like, I can't even be mad at them, because if they've never experienced mental health problems, good on them. Like, I'm so happy for them.
Yes.
But it's not always the case, and it's certainly not a quick rebuke and move on. Like, it doesn't work like that. Mental health is real, regardless of who's in the background driving it. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it is a constant struggle, and that's why you have to constantly lean on Jesus, like, all the time, because as soon as you take your eye off Jesus, then you will start to fall again.
I mean, yeah, it's walking on water.
Yeah.
The second you look at the waves, yeah, you're gonna sink.
Yeah. I'm trying to just read everyone's comments. There's a lot, which
Hi,
I'm
Super.
really thankful for. Welcome in, Super. So you said that you were raised in a semi-what Christian
Yeah.
household. Do you think since your accident, other people in your home or in your family have become closer to, like, gotten closer to God, or?
So it's one of the, so this is a question that actually gets brought up a lot whenever I've told my testimony, because you would expect that. But I think there's this really big stipulation, and I think it's referenced a little bit in the Bible. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. In like the life of Jesus himself, where, you know, where Jesus grew up, it was harder for them to trust and believe the things that he said because they watched him grow up.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit of that, especially when it comes to like drastic changes like that, where sometimes your family does see those drastic changes and it does cause them to kind of question and want to also make those changes. But there are other times where they're like, okay, well, you know, you're just another person, and like it doesn't really change much of their perspective. So, you know, as far as like my siblings and stuff like that go, it hasn't really changed anything for them. For my dad, I'm not sure. I know that he's, you know, he's definitely grateful that I'm alive for sure. But I don't know if it's changed his faith at all. But my dad and I are the only Christians in my immediate family. I should throw that out there.
Okay.
The only person in my life that has expressed that what has happened to me has definitely changed her perspective is my cousin. And she told me straight up, like, she, you know, she also grew up in a family that was semi-faithful. As far as like my aunt and uncle and stuff like that, she had to go through like a lot of abuse through her biological father growing up. And she didn't really have much of a faith basis at all outside of when she was younger. You know, her mom took her to get confirmed in the church, but that was it. And she has said that like now she knows for sure that there's something out there and that there's a lot of stuff that she now needs to think about. And yeah, that's kind of the only person in like my personal life, in my IRL life outside of Twitch, that has been like, okay, I see you change and now I want to change.
Yeah. Do you find it easier or harder to talk to people that are like immediate family or very close friends about God? Do you find it more confronting or?
Not, I don't really know. So before the accident happened, I was the type of person that like, I knew how to answer all the questions and make it seem like I was a Christian, if that makes sense. Just because, like, I grew up in it. Like,
Yeah.
I heard the same questions, I heard the same answers over and over and over again. You know, eventually you learn.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, I lost my train of thought as to why I brought that up.
I think what you were going to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you get to a point where things are like robotic. You know the answer, you know how to
Yeah.
you know how to communicate, you know what to say, you've learned all the things to say, but it hasn't come from your heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
With that in mind, there's definitely a lot of like I've pretty much always been comfortable to talk about God. So it's not necessarily more comfortable or less comfortable to talk about him now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have more of a fire in your belly though?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and Skiz. Yes. Thank you guys.
Oh, it's just amazing, like.
Yeah.
And I also want to say too, something else that came to my mind. I should be writing this all down. But something else that came to mind too is even for those who, I feel it's inspiring for even those who haven't got the same diagnosis as you and don't have that hope of being able to walk in the future. It's still inspiring and you can still help them, because... Or even if you hadn't have had the same diagnosis, say your diagnosis was never to be able to walk again.
It was initially, yeah.
Yeah.
It was initially.
Yeah. So, you know, it's still an inspiration, because you need to cope somehow, right? And if we're honest, the only real way to cope is through Jesus anyway. So.
Yeah. Yep. Amen.
So what are you doing on your farm right now?
I honestly don't even know. I've just been kind of running around and either fishing or chopping trees while I've been talking.
I've been trying to like concentrate on you only, so I haven't actually done anything other than chop trees and break rocks because I don't want to do anything. I haven't wanted to miss anything. Like I've just wanted to listen. I've wanted to be present.
Yeah, I've been kind of the same way. I think in my brain I'm like ever so slightly working towards getting a backpack, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Brother. Okay, I always say brother. Ignore that. Like not the crazier part, but like one of the things that's really crazy to think about is the fact that it's almost March. And this accident happened March of last year. It's almost been a year.
Yeah, and look what has already happened.
I have so many people. My friend Mother Goose, I know I mentioned her earlier. I mentioned her a lot. She's one of my best friends. She said that like she literally has this vision of me not only walking but running, and I'm like, I receive that. Like that's harder for me to believe, but you know, if God's gonna do it, God's gonna do it, and I'm not gonna stand in his way.
Yeah. And you're already showing signs, and it doesn't necessarily mean tomorrow, but you are already showing signs of getting up and moving.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Hannah, I graduated from physical therapy in November. Well, I'm back in physical therapy now, because I mentioned this earlier that I walk with lobster and crutches.
Yeah.
Amen.
So I have one on either arm, so two. And at some point they want to the last time I saw the person that does it, I forget, orthopedics?
Yeah.
Anyway, the last time I saw somebody that like does that type of work, she said that that my body is now strong enough to learn how to walk with one. So
Let's
the goal
go.
by the end of this year is to, if I can learn how to walk with one crutch, I can then learn how to walk with a cane. And then it just goes up and up from there.
Let's go. That's insane.
It's not even a year, dude.
I know.
Oh, I love you, Hannah.
You're a weapon. Like, it hasn't even been a year and they're like, oh, you know, like, you can just go from one crutch and then from there we just go onto the cane. Like, it's fine. It's nothing.
And then eventually after that is nothing. There's this really
And then, do you know what you'll be doing?
Running?
You'll be getting me a glass of water from the kitchen.
Snap! No! Did you? So now that everybody's like kind of in the conversation and everything now, do you want to tell chat why this whole idea of me coming in and sharing my testimony came about?
It's gonna make me look like the worst person ever.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, so I just want to know, thank you so much for the follow. Thank you. I just want to know how many people are my viewers in here and how many people are her viewers in here. Because that will determine whether or not I tell the story.
If you're a regular Marzi viewer, put a green emote in chat. If you're a regular Emmie viewer, put a red emote in chat. I just did Christmas, my bad.
That's fine. If it makes you feel better, I'm neutral. No, I appreciate that.
Yay! We got them both.
Oh, I've got the green. That's good. Oh no, there's the red. There it is. Okay, so someone redeemed.
You have to tell it.
Okay, so someone redeemed a hydrate and I didn't have any water. And I whinged about it. And I was like, oh, why do you guys have to like redeem when I don't have a drink? I don't want to walk to the kitchen and get a drink. Blah, blah, blah. I was just having one of those moments chatting. Emmie slides into the chat and goes, just get up and walk to the kitchen and get the water. And I said, you get up and walk to the kitchen and get a water. And she's like, I'm in a wheelchair.
Like, at least you can get up and get water.
I have never in my life ever wanted the world to swallow me up whole in that moment more than any moment of my entire life. And I said, are you really? Because I thought, is she pulling my leg? And then, sorry, the leg jokes again. And
I was gonna say, it's okay, you could pull mine and I wouldn't feel it.
Oh no. Anyway.
No, Hannah
created. Oh no.
My stomach hurts.
I am gonna go. I'm gonna be like, I'll raid off to someone and they'll do the whole clip thing and it'll come up and I'll just be like unfollowed instantly. People will be like, she is so rude, so nasty. What an ableist. And then I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna complain about getting up and using my legs ever again. And then I had this great idea. You know what? Well, since I can use the treadmill, I should use the treadmill. Since I can exercise, I should exercise. I was so inspired that night.
Aww.
No, don't awe me because it hasn't happened.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
I was like,
inspired but not. Got it.
Yeah. I felt like, you know what? Since I've got it, use it. And then, anyway, my treadmill is currently housing a wooden cross that I've got packed. It's a prop for photography for Easter. It really needs to be moved off the treadmill so I can use it. But anyway, that's besides the point. I just keep putting my foot in it because I have a foot. No, I'm kidding. Bad joke.
Oh, listen, I have feet. They just don't work.
No, that's also something that I really find inspiring too, is the fact, I mean, like you've said in the past too, most of the time I'm talking so much I'm not catching any fish. I'm sitting here grabbing the fish and I miss every one of them.
I'm listening and not catching fish.
But like you've said it in the past that humor is one way of coping. But it is inspiring, and it does inspire me too, because I use humor a lot as well for deflection, I think. But it does help because I can't remember the Bible scripture, but if you have a joyous heart, there's just no room for anxiety. And so I think even if you fake it until you make it, it's not a bad thing. Just keep laughing, chat. Just keep giggling and keep laughing, and
especially at the fact that Amarzi is struggling to catch things.
Yeah. And the fact I literally told a wheelchair bound woman to get up and walk. How rude. I nearly died.
Jesus did the same thing.
I nearly died, honestly. It was gross. I've never been more disgusted in myself ever. Oh, hey.
Mind you this, guys.
Yeah,
mind
she's
you this.
strolling.
Wait, what?
You're strolling past.
Mind you this, though, chat. This was the first time I was ever in Amarzi's chat.
Yeah, exactly. I hadn't even gotten to know her properly yet, and she's just throwing it at me. Em trying to be Peter and John with the lame dude. Oh.
Which M?
Oh, me.
I know.
Which
I had
M?
to do the which M joke.
Oh my gosh. River jelly. This has to be new, right?
It's kind of not very new, though.
Not new? Oh.
Wait, why are there so many new people today?
Because your community's in here too.
Yeah.
You're like, no.
I told you I would share it around.
I figured your community had heard it more than once.
Oh.
But
Hannah's always down to hear it, though.
that's right. And I think it reignites things for even Christians to have that faith in God and to put their trust in Jesus, because sometimes we all fall short and sometimes we slack off. I know I do. I would like to say that I don't, but I do. And I think hearing things like this is the whole reason why I wanted to do Testimony Tuesdays. One, because there's non-Christians that I feel would benefit from hearing testimonies. And there's power in the testimony. It says that in Revelations. And also the Christians that are in chat, they need to, sometimes we, not always, but sometimes we drop off and become a lukewarm Christian. And I'm not saying everybody, but sometimes you go through the motions. It's up and down. We have bad times, whatever. And we need to be reignited, I feel.
Yeah.
So it helps anybody, really. But yeah, it does reignite. I feel I needed to hear it. 100%. I do too, like all the time. I really can't get over how insane her story is. I don't even have any words. I'm so blown away. Like, I'm going to go back through this stream to condense it for YouTube, because obviously I've got to do a lot of cutting and pasting and making it like easier listening. And I'm just going to be like, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything productive. I didn't say anything interesting. I know, like, I'm genuinely shocked. I'm genuinely, like, my brain just keeps picturing what you described happened in the car accident. And I just keep thinking, like, so many other factors could have happened. And it's just, and I keep saying insane because I don't have any other word. Like, it is literally insane. The fact that you're still alive is insane. The fact that paramedic was behind you is insane. The fact that you came out of the car is insane. Because ideally, we don't want that. We don't want you coming out of the car because obviously you've been thrown and that's what would have broken everything, right?
Yes.
But if you had have stayed in the car, it could have been 10 times worse as well.
Yeah.
So, and then the fact that now they're saying, like, 1 minute they said, no, you're never going to walk again. Now they're like, oh, we'll just give you a cane. Not even 12 months after is insane.
Whenever I tell this part of my testimony, because there's obviously a lot of other things that happened in my life, but, like, if I were to have to come up with a title for it, I've just been calling it my but God moment, because all of it is, you know, the doctor said this, but God said this.
Yeah.
And one of the really, really cool things, I'm going to put it in chat, even though you probably know how it's spelled because Australia.
Yeah.
But one of my super, super, super sweet friends, she's a Christian music artist. She goes by the name Adelaide. And she is a huge part of what happened to me because, you know, like it was mentioned before, I didn't really, like, I had a faith foundation, but it didn't really mean as much to me like it does now. And Adelaide, while I was in the hospital, right after I got the diagnosis of, hey, you know, you're never gonna walk again, basically, I texted her, and I told her straight up, I was like, this is the rest of my life, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I was just completely heartbroken. And her response to me, and I can quote it word for word because it is absolutely everything I ever needed to hear. But her response to me was, sweet girl, God has the final say. So even though the doctors were saying this is your diagnosis and this is what's permanent and these things are never going to change, Adelaide was telling me, like, well, no, don't listen to that. Don't take that at face value. Don't accept that this is the rest of your life because they're not God. And she was absolutely right. And being that she's a Christian music artist, she does a lot of touring. She doesn't live anywhere near me, so I don't get to see her in person a lot. But I get to see her in person this summer, and I can't wait to hug her because she's just one of those people for me where, like, literally that was everything that I needed to... Oh, no, not Evelyn. That was everything that I needed to hear. Like, her telling me that is what brought me my faith back. Her telling me that is what told me, like, hey, stop trusting in what man says. Because God is bigger than that.
They think they know what they're talking about, and sometimes they do. But not always. People in the medical field are not God. And although they have some understanding of how medicine works or our anatomy or whatever, they are not God. And just because they say that someone's not going to wake up or someone's not going to walk or someone's not going to talk doesn't mean that that's it. And I think too, like, when some people hear that, that's when they give up.
Yep.
Because they think, well, you know, I've been told by a professional who knows my body or knows bodies that I'm not going to be able to do this. And so then they give up because it's like, well, what's the point in even trying if they've told me I can't? And just because someone says you can't do something doesn't mean you can't.
It's also not the end of the world either. Like, even if of course, you know, in the moment it was very devastating to have that diagnosis, but even just thinking back on it now, it's like, even if I had been, you know, stuck in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, I'm still alive.
Yes.
Like, people in a wheelchair can have just as much of a life as anybody else can.
Yes. Yeah.
People that are mute can have just as much of a life as anybody else can.
Yeah.
Disabilities don't mean you're gonna have a horrible life.
Or lesser
There's this
than...
one little girl that I know, Gentry. Her mom and Gentry came and visited me while I was in the hospital. And when Gentry was sometime before she was a year old, I don't remember exactly how old she was, but sometime before Gentry was a year old, she had a stroke. A baby had a stroke. And when this happened, it stunted her development, and it caused basically a permanent disability. And, a lot of people could have just given up on her and just, okay, that's it. That's the diagnosis. Gentry is disabled for the rest of her life. And Gentry is about 5 now. And she still struggles a lot. She doesn't talk. She's, basically maybe like 4 months old is the way that she acts, just because of basically a brain injury. Anyway, Gentry the other day, it was really, really cool. I say the other day, this was probably like 5-6 months ago. Her mom posted a video of, there's like this, it's kind of like a cart that they put Gentry on. So she was like on her stomach on this cart type thing, and it kind of put her in like a crawling position. And Gentry had to figure out, because they wanted to try to, do some therapy with her to get her to be able to move herself around, because right now her parents have to carry her everywhere. And her biggest issue when they first started with this is she doesn't understand how to control her hands. And so she'll be like trying to crawl around, but her hands will just kind of curl under her. Like, she can't get them in front of her to do what she needs them to do. And her mom posted this video of Gentry on her own, without her mom's prompting. Gentry figured that out on her own, how to get her hand in the right position to move. Gentry was given a horrible diagnosis as a baby and still has a wonderful life. She has a wonderful family. The mother that she has is not her biological mother. She was adopted. But the life that she has, the brother that she has, the parents that she has, is just... She is such a... I mean, y'all think that my story is impressive. That little girl makes me cry.
Yeah.
Any diagnosis, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, just being alive is... I mean, we should be praising God every time we wake up anyway. That we've woken up. Regardless of the situation that we're in. And it's definitely not the end of the world if you have a disability. So chat, she says she doesn't know what man she wants to marry on this game. She hasn't gotten that far yet. She hasn't talked to the eligible bachelors. Dr. Harvey. So I've just started to see him differently lately, chat. I'm like, maybe the moustache is actually giving marriage material.
No.
No, I think so.
No.
But I am actually obsessed with Sebastian. I always marry Sebastian. Always.
I have thought about that.
Oh, no, you haven't. No, you haven't. You haven't
but
thought
it's my first time.
Yeah, so for your first time, I suggest Sam, Elliot. I suggest...
It's not that one guy. The Shane.
Shane. Yeah, I suggest Shane.
Not Shane. No, he's a drunk.
But now we're talking about Elliot. Elliot's hair is heaven. He looks like a god. He's just beautiful looking. He combs his hair. It's styled brilliantly. I'm sure he looks beautiful in the sunlight, but he's so over the top. If he writes one poem, he writes 1,000. And you just get smothered. Excuse me, why are you sleeping with me? talking about bachelors. Get out of my bed. She's like, we're not sharing funds, it's fine. You won't even know I'm here.
Ew.
Get your feet off me. You're cold.
I can't control them!
Get off me! What do you... I can't control them. I'm done.
You're the one that brought up feet, okay?
I've done it again, chat. Okay, so Elliot, a little too over the top for my liking. I love romantic men, but you can be overly too romantic, and I think he would just get on my nerves. But he does take you on a really cute boat ride, so you could probably just date him for the boat ride and then be done. Then we have Sam. Sam gets married and still skateboarding, by the way.
Not my boss. Not my boss.
Not Sam the boss. Sam the blonde skateboarder. Emma, I can't believe you just knock her legs out from under like that.
I can't believe you've done this.
I'm just disappointed she didn't get up and get me a drink through the night. I asked her to.
Bruh. You got legs, use them.
Anyway, oh, as if she just beat me to the radish.
It's a radish? It's not a radish.
What is it?
It's a leek. Radishes are red.
Whatever it is. I don't even think you get radishes in this game.
No, you do. No, you do. You do.
Do? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I love
Leeks
how
and
you're, like,
radishes
Stardew
in
Valley is my
Australia.
favorite. Stardew Valley is your favorite game, yet I was the one that knew that.
They can wheel race together.
Oh, hi, Mariah.
She'd win 100%.
Mariah's back.
Where's the turnips? Oh my gosh. Okay, so back to the bachelors. Elliot scares me too, by the way.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hey! Yeah, so Sam doesn't give up skateboarding, which, I mean, it's okay, but I feel like he's... Okay, so this is the issue I have with the skateboarding, right? He says to you, you kiss him in the morning, and he says to you, I'm going to go and spend time with... Don't worry about that. Don't worry about what Lewis caught Emma Marzi doing. So he says, I'm going to go visit my family. I'm going to go visit my mum today. And you say, oh, that's lovely. That's nice. And then you go to feed the pigs or go for a fish along the ocean side. And here he is skateboarding in the streets. So I don't know. There's a lack of communication, I think, on Sam's part. So anyway, I don't like his hair anyway. So there's that. Then we have Alex. Alex talks himself up a lot. He's the gym junkie. He's the... Oh, wait, I can't fish. I've got no space. He's the gym junkie. He works out all the time. He's got the abs. He's got the muscles. He's the pretty boy. He's talks himself up all the time. He's all about sports. That's not usually my type. But when you start getting to know him, his mum died. He lives with his grandparents, which I think's cute. I don't think any of these guys are actually emotionally ready for a marriage. None of them. Then you've got the doctor, and as I said, like, I mean,
Harvey?
his moustache
No.
is kind of hot.
Marzi.
It's kind of hot.
Chill.
It's kind of hot. I mean, I'm looking at this like there's not many eligible bachelors. Like, I'm desperate. We're in a small town. There's not many people.
Oh,
There's
boy.
not many to choose from. And then we've got Sebastian. No one is allowed to touch Sebastian. That's the one I marry all the time. Sebastian has a pet frog. So maybe that's why I like Sebastian. And he's a gamer, and he like does IT, and he plays board games, and he's in a band.
Oh, come on.
Right. We're getting somewhere with Sebastian, right? The only problem is he smokes.
Oh.
And that would be normally a no for me. But we can change him, chat. We can change him. Why does this sound like Pop the Balloon? Oh, Marcy and her red flags. I'm just really fussy. So, I have a question.
7.
Yes, perfect answer. No. What do you think have been the biggest priorities that have changed since you became Christian? For you.
Honestly, the value of time. Like, I think especially coming from a place of like, you know, we talked about it heavily before, but like wanting to be alive and then, or not wanting to be alive and then wanting to be alive. It like, and then like also being stuck in bed for 3 months. Like, there's a lot of just time that was lost in just being depressed and time. You don't get a lot of it. Like, it's a cliche thing to say, but it really is true. Like, and with that in mind, you know, you have a very limited amount of time to talk about who Christ is, and there are people that are out there that have even less time to I guess come to acceptance than we would expect.
Because you would have definitely felt like 3 months laying around was a complete waste of time. Despite the fact that you had to be there, there was no other place that you could have been at that point. But looking back, you would have been like 3 months just gone, and I did nothing.
Yep.
However, you probably wasn't, because you weren't able to do anything. There would have been other things that you would have done. Like, you probably would have read more. Maybe, did you?
I should have, but I definitely didn't.
Okay.
I mostly slept and watched like Minecraft videos on YouTube. That's how I got through 3 months.
Yeah. There would have been definitely something there, though, that would have been positive and influential. Even if it was, you would have learnt something. It wouldn't have been a complete waste, is what I'm saying. Even if God was using that time to work on your heart too.
Or just to tell me to pause. Just chill for a little bit. I have more money than you do.
Listen to her brag.
I won't for very long. I need to buy a backpack. I keep forgetting.
She's about to buy a backpack, chat. Can I take a loan? We are best friends after all.
I don't know about that much.
Just $2.
She did not want to share $2, not even with her best friend.
So my pastor's, well, he's no longer my pastor anymore, but he wasn't my pastor. He just recently quit. But his daughter-in-law, just after I was discharged from the hospital, she came up to me and she told me how, because I've been posting a lot of updates since the accident on my Facebook page. And, anyway, she had this friend who was in an accident shortly after I was in the one that I was in, and she was just showing this friend the pictures and videos of me, just going through the process of learning how to walk again, and learning how to get dressed again, and learning how to literally do everything as if I'm a child all over again. And she told me straight up, she was like, she told me that she showed this friend just the stuff that I'd been through these posts that I was putting up. And that friend went from, oh my gosh, I have this horrible diagnosis and I've given up, to, you know, she sees the motivation that I had and she's like now motivated to to do more for herself than she's being told she's capable of doing. And so even if it's just that one person alone that has been helped through what I've been through, I mean, that's Romans 8:28 already speaking.
And that's it. Like, it's a ripple effect. So by it doesn't matter if it's just one person, because then they'll grow, and then they will share, and then they'll help someone, and then they'll grow, and then they'll help someone. It's like a ripple effect.
Then that person can share, and that person
With their,
can share,
yeah.
that person can share.
Yeah.
There is and I'm gonna Google it just to make sure that I'm quoting her right. No, I think of her name, Rachel. So there's this woman that I learned about before. Her name is Rachel Joyce Scott. And she has like this really, there it is. So she wrote a lot in her journal, and her parents found it after she passed away. But this is one of the things that she said, and I think it's very true, where she said, I have this theory that if one person can go out of their way and show compassion, it'll start a chain reaction of the same. People will never know how far a little kindness will go. And so it's basically that idea of, you know, you share your story, and then the next person either shares your story and what they heard from you, or they share their own, and there's just this ripple effect of, you know, praising God. And
that is so true.
It keeps going.
Yeah. Amen.